for life.
If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Avenue 2021, a global virtual career guidance program organized by Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir under the aegis of the Board of Directors of Indian Schools in Oman. On behalf of Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir, we, Zeba Khalifatullah and Anushri Chatterjee, your hosts for this morning from ISWK, take the proud privilege of expressing our profound gratitude to His Majesty Haitham bin Tariq Al Said for the unstinting and noble benevolence showered on the Indian community in the Sultanate of Oman. May the Almighty shower His choicest blessings on His Majesty, and may this notion experience peace and everlasting prosperity. The flow of the program for this morning is as follows. We will begin with the welcome address, followed by a brief introduction about the guest speaker. After this, we will listen to our eminent speaker, followed by the Q&A section, where the speaker will answer queries addressed by the moderator. We shall conclude the session with the vote of thanks.
At the outset, let me take this opportunity to welcome dignitaries from the Ministry of Education, Dr. Shivakumar Manikan, Honorable Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, members of various boards of directors, CBC officials, distinguished members of the MOE Oman, officials of the Embassy of India, Sultanate of Oman, Mr. Alkesh Joshi, Honorary President of the School Management Committee, Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir, presidents and members of the school management committees of all Indian schools in Oman and from other schools and boards across the globe, principals, vice principals, heads of various departments, coordinators, teachers, parents, staff, and students of all participating schools. Welcome all.
Dear audience, you're requested to fill in the feedback form posted in the chat box. And to our attendees who are viewing this session on YouTube Live, kindly use the link posted in the description towards the end of the session. Filling this form is necessary as it would fetch you a participation certificate. It is with sheer joy and great pride that I take the task of introducing our guest speaker today. She is a strong proponent of nurturing the uniqueness of every child with her immense passion and commitment. She has contributed positively to the field of learning, student development, and quality in education. She is none other than Miss Melissa Maria. Miss Melissa Maria is the principal of Global Indian International School Smart Campus, Punggol, Singapore. She is a Master of Arts, History with a scholarship from the Mumbai University and the Bombay Catholic Sabha for being a topper in the state of Maharashtra. She possesses Bachelor's in Education and pursued an educational leadership program from the Center for Education Management and Development, New Delhi, India, as well as an educational management program from SNTT College, Mumbai, India. Ms. Melissa has over 25 years of experience in the field of education and administration in reputed schools in Mumbai, Oman, and Singapore. She has been responsible for the qualitative learning of the students, professional growth of teachers and staff, besides working towards academic excellence and quality in education. Her zest for nurturing her teams towards great initiatives and innovation has led to several recognitions for the schools she leads. She has actively pursued community integration activities and outreach towards the less fortunate human beings in society. She has been a leader in advocating quality education, contributor to student development, and promoter of excellence in learning during her career. Qualitative learning for her was imparting excellent academic and non-academic education through curriculum development and introduction of innovative ideas through research and analysis. Her quest is to ensure students and staff remain current and relevant and are prepared for the 21st century. This goal has led to the introduction of several new programs and activities in the schools, which have been recognized at national and international levels as awards and recognitions to the school. Dear audience, let's welcome Miss Melissa Maria. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anushri, for that long and wonderful introduction. I also wish to thank Ziba, who began. And, it's such a fascinating thing to see students lead initiatives like you are doing today. So amazing work, both of you. Well done and keep it up. I wish to especially thank the Avenir organizing team for all the wonderful work that is being done by you for the students, not only of Middle East, but world over. To all the dignitaries that were announced by Ms. Zeba, thank you so much for having me. Ms. Jennifer Robinson, thank you for reaching out. Principal Mr. Rao for extending the invite. It feels immensely good as I have been part of the Wadi Kabir team from 2001 to 2008. And I still do know faculty members there. So believe me, it's pretty nostalgic to be speaking, especially to the students. Today, this morning, I have my colleague, Ms. Radha Ganesh, who is assisting with the presentation. And both of us are delighted to be here. I was looking at the panel and I saw that there are a number of students who are attending this talk. And I'm sure that some of it will help you build your profile towards university education. So over to the presentation. My topic is Rise as Leaders of Tomorrow. And therefore, the focus would be on leadership. Over the years as a school leader, I've had the opportunity to listen and to read from great and inspiring leaders, some of whose lessons I would share today. And as I found myself assimilating and internalizing these powerful thoughts, I questioned myself as well and came up with my own understanding of what leadership is all about. And through this platform, I would be sharing my personal views as well as those lessons and points that I would have picked up. To the audience, yes, this is going to be a talk for some time, which you'll be listening to, but I would be happy to receive your questions at the end of the presentation. What is the agenda like today? We will have the first point on what leadership is about. Second step and pertinent step for you as young leaders, what are the steps to develop yourself as a leader? Third is what is the role of trust as you develop your own leadership? I'll share a little bit about what happens at my school. And finally, the most important attributes that you have to focus on as leaders. Beginning with the first, what is leadership all about? In my own journey, I came across two quotes which I would like to talk about today. The first one is from the US President, Dwight Eisenhower. And he said, the essence of leadership is to get others to do something because they think you want it done. And because they know it is worthwhile doing. But as I reflected on this quote, I asked myself as a leader, do I want people to do things, do things I want them to do, or because I think it is worth doing? And as I thought this over in my mind, another definition popped up by Vishen Lakhiani, who said, leadership is getting people to become the best versions of themselves. Now, this seemed to resonate a little more with what I thought leadership should be all about. He goes on to say that every single person is blessed with genius, brilliance, potential for success. And to be leaders, they just need to be reminded of it. And to a large extent, I agree. So therefore, the next question is, what do I think leadership is all about? For me, leadership is not necessarily a title or a designation, but it is an inherent passion and desire by an individual or a group of like-minded people coming together to effect change for the better. To me, then, it is only then that we can truly exercise leadership. I believe leadership calls for two important things. One is reflection, and the other, more importantly, is action. Leaders strive to act and change for the better, either themselves or the situation around them, to make life and experiences comfortable, pleasant, and better for all. Now, the next question we may ask ourselves is then, how do you develop yourself as a leader? Marshall Goldsmith has given us 8-step process of developing yourself as a leader. And they're pretty doable things. First thing he says, ask people, how can I be a better leader, manager, partner, team member? Ask people around you for that. The second point he says is, after you ask, listen for their answers. Third, very simple, he says, think about the input that you have got. What are they telling you and what does it mean to you? Fourthly, thank people for sharing this valuable feedback with you. Believe me, students, that not everybody gives accurate and precise feedback. So when you receive feedback, thank people for sharing that. Next, respond. Respond positively when you receive it. When somebody gives you feedback, do not look at it as fault finding or criticism, but some nuggets that you can use to become better. The next point is important. Involve. Involve the people around you to support your change efforts. So if there's something you're trying to change, take help from people around you. For example, if you were told, given feedback that, hey, during discussions, you don't allow others to speak. Now, this is a feedback that has come to you. Now, make it a point, make it a conscious point that when you are having your group meetings, your team meetings, your council meetings, go around the table asking people to contribute. Ask a specific team member, why don't you summarize our discussion today? Or ask another team member, do you have any other outstanding matters? So involve everyone, because when you do that, you're also becoming a better leader. Next, change. Act on what you learn. Just receiving feedback and forgetting about it is not a very good sign of a leader. So change based on feedback. And lastly, follow up. Follow up regularly with people who gave you feedback. And people will start noticing the positive actions that you're taking based on the feedback. So if you have to develop yourself as a leader, these 8 points are critical to keep in mind at every step of the way. The other important part is when you're building your leadership, you have to build trust. Michel Lederman has very well explained that trust is something very hard to define. Yet, when we see it, we know it is there. And when we see, we also know it's not there. So it's so intangible. But as people, we know what trust is. It is a confidence that we have in a person to complete a task, or, know exactly how this person will respond in a given situation. Your teachers will look up to some of your council members, and the minute they have said something, they know it will happen. that is the kind of trust you're emitting. You know, there are 4 points she is listed on trust. And I'm sure we come across people who we blindly trust because of these 4 points. 1, trust is the expectation of predictability. That means in all circumstance, you know that this particular person, this leader who I consider a leader, will always respond in this particular way. You can predict it even before the person takes action. That's an important quality for leadership. Second, trust is unwavering and it is consistent. It has to be there at all times. Thirdly, remember, trust is the foundation of connecting with all. Only when people trust you, they will start connecting with you. Fourthly, trust is equated with a brand or with a reputation. Just like Wadi Kabir has a brand, Global Indian International has a brand. We are known because people trust our brand, right? So as leaders, trust is equated with a brand. The 4 pillars of trust, according to her, are authenticity, vulnerability, transparency, and consistency. Dear students, and to all who are on the panel, please remember that all our micro actions on a daily basis should focus on building trust. Every leader needs to give trust and also get trust. Let me share briefly, as a principal at the Global Indian International School, what do I do to ensure that, you know, our students are being nurtured in these qualities of leadership. So what we have set up is we have an extremely robust program to nurture leadership right from the age of 3, because we have our students who enter our school at 2.5 and finish at 18. So right from the age of 3 years when they are in kindergarten, our 9 gems pedagogic approach that we have allows students opportunities at various times for leadership. So there are platforms that allow children visible demonstration of their leadership skills. They are consciously taught skills in a very systematic manner. I'll give you one example. We have an annual event, which is the Real World Challenges Convention, and students, every student in the school is expected to be part of a quality circle. Now, what is this quality circle? They have to list down concerns as a team that are plaguing them, that are worrying them. Now, the condition is that if you are listing a problem, you should also be responsible for finding a solution. And as a school, we will teach you how to use scientific tools to find these solutions. We teach them the nominal group technique. We teach them Ishikawa diagram, fishbone diagram. We teach them to find the red X. These are skills we see besides the technical skills. They're also learning decision making, problem solving. They're looking for resolutions and solutions. The one thing is that all students have an equal opportunity to nurture these skills. Yes, we may not have all becoming leaders, but everyone has an opportunity to practice. Secondly, we also have something called the GIS Leadership Lecture Series. And at this, we invite eminent personalities from various walks of life to share their journey and story with students. And this is therefore an opportunity for students to be inspired and also to aspire to be leaders of this stature and nature. So we've had leadership, leaders from very, very prestigious places. We've hosted Lee Kuan Yew, who has been the first Prime Minister of Singapore. We had Mr. Tony Blair, who was the former UK Prime Minister. We also had the late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who was the former President of India. We've had sports personalities, musicians, actors, poets, conservationists, and so on. And this is because of our belief that students can be nurtured in different arenas. It doesn't only have to be academic. So whatever is their unique strength, we provide that kind of role model to them to learn from. And the other bit is that our students, just like we had Anushri and Zeba hosting the event, Our students host these events and they get an opportunity to talk to these dignitaries, ask them questions. So what are they learning in the bargain? They are learning to, kind of research. They have to research a lot on the personality if the questions have to be asked. They learn public speaking. They learn how to be confident when addressing their questions. So this is directly and indirectly nurturing their leadership. Annually, we have Design for Change project. It's an annual event. Children are asked to come up with proposals and talk about things that they want to change. So you have students talking about beating the plastic menace, or talking about mental health or peer pressure, or whatever concerns them. They are allowed to bring this forward and work on a proposal. Like I said, we start from 3 to 18. Every class, every section has opportunities for leadership. So, we have all sorts of leaders. You have leaders ranging from board monitors, you have welcome team monitors, you have sustainable monitors, you have happiness monitors, well-being monitors. There's a prefect council, there's an entire student council. So right from the time they're 3 years, they have had opportunities for leadership. And why I'm sharing all this? So that when you are at school, you also can access these opportunities, because all this builds towards your profile as you go forward. And finally, of course, a very important part is our senior students get the opportunity to come up with their projects that they want to run for one academic year. So we run about 25 such projects in the school. Throughout the year, they are calendared, and students have an opportunity to come up, suggest innovative practices for school processes or for changes that they want to make. Our effort as leaders is always nurturing, this leadership in students. And one thing we ask children to keep in mind, that's the tenet of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now, what's that? We tell the students, do not follow where the path may lead. You go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. I mean, that is our emphasis to children. Don't try to do mundane things that everybody is doing. You try and think out of the box and come up with projects or things that you work on where you will become the benchmark. Now, going to the next part, the most important segment, and that is, what are the attributes for leaders, not of today, not of yesterday, but of tomorrow? And therefore, we came up with this acronym RISE. RISE is an acronym, and each of the letters in this acronym has a value attached to it. Now, let's begin with R. R stands for respect, and the second R is resilience. When we say respect, it would mean respect for yourself first, and then respect for all. When we say respect for self, it means being grateful for all the blessings, all the endowments you have. Thanking your Creator for blessing you with talents, potentials, and building your self-esteem around that. Being confident and taking care of yourself to keep balanced and happy. If you want to be a leader, you have to first respect yourself and treat yourself with love. Nurture yourself. Next, respect for others. And when we say respect others, it includes our surrounding, the property, other living things around us, and people around us. We need to respect people who might be different from us, physically, emotionally, intellectually, socially, or culturally. Respect is an attribute that leaders must have in abundance. The next R is resilience. The American Psychological Association defines resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, or even significant source of threat. Resilience involves being able to recover from difficulties or change. And it should mean that you're able to function as well as before that situation. And from there, you move forward. Many refer to this as bouncing back from difficulties or challenges. And why I'm telling you this is because leadership is always about having the resilience to bounce back from setbacks. Personally, I follow the 24-hour mantra. Something happens, okay, live through it for 24 hours. It means sulking, brooding, being angry, being disturbed, but 24 hours. After that, you come back to what you have to be and move forward. Well, I must admit, all the times it is not always possible, but one way to do it is to do a lot of self-talk. Talk to yourself about the need to bounce back. You cannot remain where you are. And so the question is, how is it possible? Now, this has something to do with our mindset and how we train it. So having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Radha, if we can have the next slide. Where even failures or criticism, do not faze us, but you learn to look at it as constructive and stepping stone towards your goal. Every leader, every person who wants to be a leader has to cultivate a growth mindset. Let's now look at the next letter, that is I in the acronym RISE. I is integrity and I is insight. What is integrity? Integrity is said to be the act of behaving honorably, even when no one is watching. People with integrity follow moral and ethical principles in all aspects of life. Integrity extends to professional areas at work, such as decision making, interacting with colleagues, and serving others. Now, at a school, what do we do? At a school, we focus on teaching students academic integrity. It is a commitment, even in the face of adversity. So, at a young age, children have the ability to learn the importance of the 6 main characteristic traits. Every given opportunity in school, we emphasize with children these points. We tell them, you have to lead by example. You have to be what you want others to be. As a leader, this is important. You have to always exercise open communication. Be transparent when you're talking, when you're saying things. Always be accountable for your actions. Being a leader, accountability stops with you as a leader. It cannot go beyond you. Being a leader means being responsible and being accountable for whatever you do. Another important thing for a leader is always report inappropriate and unethical behavior. Don't close a blind eye to it. Talk about it. Bring it to the front. Be civil and respectful. I've already spoken about respect. And another thing as leaders is exercise patience and emotional control. We can't have temper tantrums thrown, outbursts. So we have to be patient. We have to be in control of our emotions. Being civil is another very important thing. We cannot be obnoxious. We cannot be saying things that are not right. So these are some of the things we emphasize with our students. These are some of the things we expect from leaders, from our student leaders, from our teachers, from our entire environment. And that is what is important for all of us as leaders. Next one is insight. I think a very important attribute for a leader is always to be able to re-examine facts. You may see things happening, but you have to learn to go through it once again. Challenge conventions and status quo. You should have the courage to say, hey, this is not okay. Leaders need to listen carefully, but they also need to discern very carefully. Not that the first thing they hear is the correct thing. They have to have the ability to discern. Always have a fresh perspective and try to discover the underlying motivations that drive people and their actions. What is it this person is actually trying to say? Try to get to that. It is easy to follow things as is given or is a convention. We did this for 10 years, we'll do the same thing. Let's follow. Why bother? Why change? But a true leader extends self beyond what the naked eye sees, sifts through huge amounts of data to arrive at concise and compelling findings that will drive action and make things better for the team or the group who they work with. Next one is S. S stands for skill development and self-assurance. Now, skill acquisition should create a value for yourself as a leader, as well as create a positive value for others. There's a speaker, Bill Jensen. He's a global speaker, thought leader, and he has given some points on skills. One of the points he says is you have to be a no authority leader. What does that mean? It means how do we make people do what is needed to be done without being dictatorial, without, waving a rod at them? How do you make them do it? So be a no authority leader. There has to be persuasion. So should I be a leader who uses force, coercion, and make people do what it is? Or as a leader, should I use a coaching approach for team action? Should I use persuasion? Okay. The other thing he talks about, which is very pertinent in this day and age, he calls it dancing with the robots. Now, what does this mean? It means that we are moving into the world. In fact, we are there already with technology, AI, that is actually guiding so many of our actions. Therefore, leaders cannot step back and say, I'm not going to use technology. It's, it's not my cup of tea. I can do it manually. No, we have to move with time. We have to use technology. And to this generation, I should not even say it. You are native users already, But remember that technology is your teammate. It's not your competitor. Next, you should have supersized creativity. Leaders should look for solutions out of the box and move from conventional problem solving. At school, personally, I completely discourage statements like, this is always done like that. We followed this for last 4 years. All our previous leaders did it. I believe these are all constraining statements. We have to stop and we have to explore different things. The other point about a skill is, as leaders, you must be insatiably curious. Curiosity should keep leaders awake and on their toes at all times. The other important point or skill for leaders is skill of sense making. Finding ways to connect dots, making connections between disconnected things, fragmented data and information. As leaders, you'll hear things from various sources. It's important to make sense of things, connect the dots. Courage. A leader needs to lose fear at a faster rate than ever before. A leader who doesn't question or is not able to call a spade crumbles under pressure and will not be able to act, right? But yes, this needs to be done in a dignified and a polite manner. When we are questioning, we don't question obnoxiously, we don't question rudely. We just question facts so that we are able to have everything correctly on the table. Agility, personal agility for leaders is a very, very important thing. The ability to learn, unlearn, and learn again. And the last skill, which is my personal favorite, it is, as leaders, we must learn from our failures. Accepting failures, remember students, is a stepping stone for our next course of action. If I do not accept that I failed, I will never grow and I'll never be able to take the next step. The next, when we are able to keep sharpening our skill, Stephen Covey says all the time that keep sharpening your skills, keep sharpening your saw. When we sharpen our skills, we reach to the next S, which is self-assurance. What is self-assurance? It is confidence to face all the challenges and situations and thrive in a world that is emerging. There is this leadership guru, Lolly Daskell, who has said that self-assurance reassures others and also reassures yourself. Coming to the last letter in the acronym RISE, which is empathy and empowerment. Roman Karzeniak's definition of empathy. It's the art of stepping imaginatively into the shoes of another person, understanding their feelings and perspectives, and using that understanding to guide your action. It's different from sympathy, students. Please understand that. It's very, very different from sympathy. Sympathy is feeling sorry for somebody and taking pity on someone. Whereas sympathy views the other person from outside, while empathy is feeling for the other person from the inside. And here you are an equal. Whereas in sympathy, you remain superior. So as leaders, it is good for us to practice empathy. And there is a leadership coach who has given us 2 advices how we as students and as leaders can grow our empathy. 1, he says, rewire your brain through compassion training. That is practicing mindful attention to other people's feelings and experiences. Be keenly observant. See what others are going through. This is best experienced experientially with other humans rather than merely reading a book. You can't read a book and become empathetic. You have to be with people, observe them keenly. A leader, for example, could actively practice paying attention to the experiences of those that they lead, focusing on staying in the moment and always in the shoes of the other. Second, shorten your empathetic distance. What does this mean? Try and get to know people, and not superficially, but genuinely. Leverage your ability to be naturally curious about others. Learn more about them. For a leader, sometimes this may mean inviting someone to coffee, inviting them for lunch, asking good questions, and then keeping quiet to hear the answer, hear their experiences. As leaders, we need to talk less, ask good questions, and listen attentively. Lastly is empowerment. Colin Powell says empowerment is a means to include the team in decision making, to give them a participatory role which capitalizes on their own expertise and judgment, and it increases the sense of both individual worth and commitment to the organization. So empowerment demonstrates as a leader that you have good listening skills, that you care about the input of everyone on your team. When you empower your team, you motivate them to row the boat together and to increase the overall success of your mission. Empowering builds confidence in their capacity to execute collective mission and goals, establish essential trust in the organization, and create, as leaders, we need to create second level leadership. When you empower, you are creating that second level leadership also, which is very necessary for you, when you are not there as a leader to take decisions. Hence, to sum it all up, a leader for tomorrow needs to focus on the attributes of RISE: respect and resilience, integrity and insight, skill development, self-assurance, empathy, and empowerment. Therefore, to conclude, leadership is not about glorious crowning acts. It's about keeping your team focused on a goal and motivated to do their best to achieve it, especially when the stakes are high and the consequences really matter. It is about laying the groundwork for others' success and then standing back and letting them shine. Therefore, my dear students, and to all the listeners, leaders cannot create tomorrow's success with yesterday's strategies. They need to be curious about what they don't know and the assumptions that create them, what they already know, and also what they need to know for the future. They need to learn and be agile to change. Thank you so much for listening to me. And now the platform is open to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, ma'am. It was truly an extraordinary and inspiring session. Ma'am, may I request you to answer a few queries which have been raised by our valued audience? I would like to invite the moderator, Ms. Poonam, to proceed with the Q&A session.
Thank you, Zeba. Firstly, let me mention, ma'am, having such a distinguished personality like you with us today has definitely been awe-inspiring for all of us. And I'm sure that the points discussed during the webinar will definitely help us all rise as leaders. Taking the session forward, we have a few questions posed by a very enthusiastic audience. Allow me to ask them to you, ma'am.
Sure.
Yes. First, ma'am, do you think that leadership not only means to lead a team, but also to lead your life in the best possible way?
If you remember, I began by saying self-care, you respect yourself. I think it starts with us always. We can never preach to anybody else as leaders things that we don't practice. So, Poonam, and to whoever asked the question, I think anything that I have spoken today about leadership, it always starts with self before the team. We always first practice, we walk our talk, So I think it first starts personally and then it goes to the team.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. The next question. We have a few questions asked by our students now. What, in your opinion, is the most difficult part of being a leader?
I think people management is the most difficult part because people have different temperaments. They come from different walks of life. So people management, and to ensure that as a leader, you're being fair, giving enough opportunities, listening carefully, being just in what you do. So as a leader, I think that is the most challenging part, to ensure that you deal with people, the best is possible to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. The last question now. Can leadership qualities be developed, or are they inherent in most cases?
Well, this is a big debate, right? That goes on. Is it there, or, personally, I believe you can nurture it. And that's why schools are there. We as institutions are there so that we can aptly pick up the right qualities and embed it in the curriculum day in and day out. Because I believe that when you consciously plug such qualities into your setup of the curriculum and students get a daily experience of it, it's like that hammer that you keep hitting every single day, it'll reach bullseye. So I personally, I'm of the strong opinion that you can nurture it, and you can nurture it very systematically. Yes, people say leaders are born. Maybe we may have examples of leaders who are born and didn't need training. But I think that if we want a generation to grow, to make this world better, then we have to consciously train our students to become leaders.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering all the questions so patiently. Thank you once again. Over to the compares now.
Thank you, ma'am, for all your support and guidance given to the large audience by attending to their concerns so patiently during the course of the discussion.
As we have come to an end of this enriching session, it is my great privilege to propose the vote of thanks. On behalf of Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir, the organizing team, and the entire audience, let me first express our honest gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq Al Said for the magnanimous benevolence showered on the Indian diaspora in the Sultanate of Oman. May the Almighty shower abundant blessings on His Majesty and this flourishing and beautiful nation.
We extend our heartfelt thanks to our eminent speaker, Ms. Melissa Maria, for all her words of motivation. Thank you, ma'am. Our deepest sense of appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Shivakumar Manikan, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, and other members of the Board and Honorary Directors of Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. A sincere appreciation to the officials from the MOE, officials from the CBSE, and officials of the Embassy of India, Sultanate of Oman. Thank you, sirs and ma'ams, for your relentless support and guidance throughout the course of the event. A sincere thanks to Mr. Alkesh Joshi, Honorary President, Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir Management Committee, and other members of the committee for their overwhelming encouragement at all times. I also wish to take this opportunity to express a heartfelt appreciation to our beloved principal, Mr. T.N. Rao. Our sincere gratitude to principals of all participating schools, vice principals, assistant vice principals, coordinators, supervisors, and the entire teaching community of all participating schools for their support, guidance, and active involvement.
We are indeed thankful to our platinum sponsor, StudyCo, gold sponsors, Gen Group of Institutions, Grey Mattress Academics, Vellore Institute of Technology, and Sri Ramchandra Institute of Higher Education. Bronze sponsors, Middle East College, Oman, Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, Dallas Baptist University, and MIT World Peace University, Pune. Our digital marketing partner, Spectrum, and our media partner, The Arabian Stories, for their support in making this mega event a tangible reality.
I wish to thank each and every student and parent for their invaluable presence in making this Global Career Fair Avenue 2021 a grand event. An event of this kind requires the coordination of a dedicated team. My earnest and heartfelt thank you to my ISWK team behind the scene working tirelessly and making Avenue 2021 a global event. Last but not the least, I thank Almighty God for making this session a great success. Thank you all. See you soon for the next sessions, which are Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education, James Cook University, and Middle East College. Please check the Avenue website, avenueoman.com, for further details of the upcoming sessions. Take care and buckle up for the next sessions. Signing off for today are your compares, Zeba and Anushree. Take care and have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you, girls. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.